July 27, 1993. Boston Celtics captain Reggie Lewis walks into Brandeis University for a simple workout. The tragic life of this quiet superstar was about to end in the most heartbreaking way possible. He collapses during light shooting practice. Rushed to the hospital, never wakes up. At just 27 years old, Boston's beloved captain was gone. This wasn't supposed to happen. Just months earlier, Lewis had gotten medical clearance to return to basketball. But the story of Reggie Lewis goes far deeper than this shocking moment. It's about a humble man who carried an entire city's hopes, a medical controversy that divided experts, and a legacy that changed sports forever. Reggie Lewis grew up in Baltimore, but his heart belonged to basketball. When he arrived at Northeastern University, something special happened immediately. As a freshman, he led the Huskies to a school record 27 wins and just 5 losses. The kid was electric. Lewis had this incredible first step that made defenders look silly. At 6'7", he could play shooting guard better than almost anyone. He just glided past people like they were standing still. By the time he left Northeastern, Lewis had scored 2,709 points. That made him the highest scorer in all of New England college history. The Boston Celtics saw something special too. They drafted him in the first round in 1987. This was perfect timing. The legendary Big Three of Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Robert Parrish were getting older. Boston needed their next superstar. Lewis was ready. Kevin McHale, the Hall of Fame forward, said Lewis was a tremendous guy who never said a bad word about anyone. That quiet leadership made him perfect for Boston. He worked harder than most players and got better every single year. Soon he wasn't just a player. He was the team captain and the franchise's future. But Lewis meant more to Boston than just basketball. He spent countless hours in Roxbury working with the African-American community. Every Thanksgiving, he gave away turkeys to families who needed them. No cameras, no publicity, just a good man helping his neighbors. April 29, 1993. Game 1 of the playoffs against Charlotte. Lewis had scored 10 quick points and looked unstoppable. Then something terrible happened. He suddenly looked confused and dizzy. He walked to the bench, struggling to breathe. Lewis tried to keep playing, but the coaches pulled him out. He finished with 17 points in just 13 minutes. Nobody knew it then, but this would be his last NBA game ever. Later, Lewis admitted he had flashbacks to Hank Gathers. 3 years earlier, Gathers had died on the court from heart problems. The memory terrified Lewis and everyone who watched. The Celtics brought in more than a dozen heart specialists. They called it a dream team of doctors. These experts diagnosed Lewis with focal cardiomyopathy. This is a serious heart muscle disease. They said it was life-threatening and would end his career forever. The team doctor made this diagnosis public. Lewis felt this broke professional rules. The doctors all agreed Lewis needed an implanted defibrillator. This device would save his life, but he could never play basketball again. Lewis and his wife Donna couldn't accept this news. The doctors wouldn't even meet with them face to face. Only one doctor delivered the devastating diagnosis. So after 3 days, Lewis and Donna quietly left the hospital. They wanted a second opinion. Dr. Gilbert Mudge worked at Brigham and Women's Hospital. He was a respected heart doctor and Harvard professor. After running his own tests, Dr. Mudge had completely different news for Lewis. Mudge diagnosed neurocardiogenic syncope. This is a nerve problem that causes fainting spells. Unlike the first diagnosis, this condition wasn't dangerous. In fact, Dr. Mudge said Lewis had a normal athlete's heart. He could return to basketball without any limitations. The difference between these diagnoses was huge. Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy makes the heart muscle too thick. Blood can't pump properly. This kills young athletes suddenly and without warning. Symptoms include fainting during exercise and trouble breathing. This matched exactly what happened to Lewis. Neurocardiogenic syncope is completely different. The nervous system overreacts and causes fainting. Heart rate and blood pressure drop suddenly, but it's harmless and has a good outlook for recovery. Lewis chose to believe the better news. He started working out again, preparing for the new season. But some signs suggested he had doubts. He secretly got a third opinion in Los Angeles. One doctor there couldn't make a definite diagnosis. Another said the first opinion was probably right. Lewis was also getting warning signs from a heart monitor he wore during exercise. These details show Lewis knew the risks. but he had made a personal choice to pursue his career. The public fight between medical experts made this decision even harder. July 27, 1993 started like any other summer day. Lewis went to Brandeis University, where the Celtics practiced. He was doing light shooting drills, nothing too hard or strenuous. A witness said Lewis wasn't pushing himself at all. Then suddenly he was found on the court, limp and shaking. He was gasping for air. Paramedics rushed him to Waltham Weston Hospital at 5:41 in the evening. Doctors worked desperately to save him. But at 7:30 that evening, Reggie Lewis was pronounced dead. The city of Boston was in complete shock. The official autopsy revealed the truth. Lewis died from hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. A viral infection called adenovirus type 2 had caused myocarditis. This inflamed and scarred his heart, making it bigger and weaker. The medical examiner found lots of evidence of heart disease. This finding supported the first team of doctors completely. It proved Dr. Mudge's diagnosis was wrong. The medical examiner stated clearly that Lewis had serious heart disease. 2 years later, the Wall Street Journal published a shocking report. They claimed doctors suspected cocaine killed Reggie Lewis. The article said his family and the NBA covered this up to protect insurance money. The Celtics were furious. They called it a vicious attack and threatened a $100 million lawsuit. A state investigation found no scientific evidence of cocaine use. Toxicology tests at the time of death were completely clean. Medical examiners said nobody pressured them to change their report. The cocaine claims came from the legal battle that followed. Lewis's wife, Donna, sued Dr. Mudge for wrongful death. She argued his misdiagnosis and treatment plan killed her husband. Her lawyer said if Lewis had gotten different advice, he might have lived. Dr. Mudge's defense was that his care wasn't negligent, even if his diagnosis was wrong. He said he told Lewis to take medication and not push too hard. Mudge claimed Lewis ignored these instructions. He also said Lewis had admitted to past cocaine use, but didn't tell him about it. The case went to trial twice. The first trial ended with a hung jury. Reports said the vote split along racial lines, 9-6 in favor of Mudge. The second trial cleared Dr. Mudge completely. The jury found no negligence. Some prominent heart doctors praised this verdict. They said a terrible outcome doesn't automatically mean malpractice happened. But questions remained. One juror was bothered by testimony about missing medical records that were replaced after Lewis died. Lewis's death, combined with Hank Gather's 3 years earlier, forced major changes in sports. These tragedies made everyone realize young athletes needed better heart screening. In 1996, the American Heart Association created new guidelines for testing young athletes. Modern NBA protocols now require detailed medical histories, physical exams, and heart imaging. This includes EKGs and echocardiograms to find problems like hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. These changes work. A study in Italy showed heart-related deaths in athletes dropped by nearly 90% after screening programs started. These tests literally save lives. New technology also helps athletes with heart problems. Implantable cardioverter defibrillators can now allow some athletes to keep playing safely. Before Lewis died, a heart diagnosis meant the end of any career. Now some athletes have options. The NBA also changed how it handles tragedy. When Lewis died, his contract stayed on Boston's salary cap for 2 full seasons. This prevented the team from signing a replacement player. Other teams refused to help, even though Commissioner David Stern asked them to make an exception. Today, if a player dies, league insurance pays the contract and removes it from the salary cap immediately. This protects both the team and the player's family financially. Boston retired Lewis's number 35 jersey in 1995. This was rare for a player with such a short career, but it showed how much he meant to the city and franchise. The Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center opened in Roxbury in 1995. It serves as a cornerstone for public high school athletics and community programs. This facility honors his memory beyond basketball, just like Lewis would have wanted. Reggie Lewis lived quietly but impacted loudly. His humble charity work, professional leadership, and tragic death created changes that protect athletes today. The medical screening protocols developed after his death have saved countless lives. Lewis carried Boston's hopes as the next Celtic superstar. Instead, he became something more important. His story taught the sports world that no game is worth a player's life. The policies, procedures, and medical advances that followed make sure future athletes have better protection. Lewis may have died too young, But his legacy lives on in every athlete who gets proper heart screening, in every player whose family is protected if tragedy strikes, and in a community center in Roxbury where kids still learn the values Lewis embodied. The quiet captain from Baltimore became Boston's forever, not just through basketball, but through the lives his story continues to save.